The importance of place. Every story happens somewhere. The setting for your story will have a massive impact on what happens and also how it feels. We want people to live our stories, to come with our characters and step into their world. In order to do this, we need to make our settings feel real and alive. Whether it's a school cafeteria or an intergalactic space station, the setting gives us context, landscape, rules, and most importantly, mood. If you use it wisely, I genuinely think that the locations of your story world can contribute as much as your actual characters who inhabit them. Again, like with our characters, we don't need to know absolutely everything. If you love the idea of going to level 29 world building, where you know the phone number, garden size, and toilet roll brand of every single character in your story, by all means, go for it. Whatever makes you feel good and confident about your story is the way to go. Just remember, not every detail you choose or plan will end up in the story directly, and attempts to cram them all in will end up making your writing feel stodgy and bloated. Some people enjoy long passages of description, others don't. It's a matter of taste, but I always like to try and make my descriptions fit with the tone of the particular story. In Zach's world, that tone is quite focused. To him, the most important things are Melissa and his feelings. The rest of the world is there, but it's not pulling his attention. For that reason, I'd want my descriptions of places and things to feel equally focused, not bother with long, elaborate descriptions. Zach's room looked like somebody tipped a skip full of teenager through the window. Zach's room looked like an art installation titled, "Not dirty, just messy." Zach's room looked like he was planning a car boot sale for his life. You get the point. An important thing to try to remember is that you can't control somebody else's imagination. However we describe something, a person will see their own version of it. Two different people will take the exact same lines of description and conjure two unique pictures in their own minds. This freedom is part of the magic of stories and is something to be embraced, I think. We sprinkle them with our own lives and experience, and it enhances our connection to the world. For this reason, it's important to walk the tightrope of description. If we over-describe, we flood someone's mind with too much to imagine, and they end up not picturing anything. If we offer too little, or too obvious a description, we end up with a world that feels lifeless and boring. Also, some places are more important than others. For example, I could say the park was massive, cut green grass stretching down to tall trees and the bandstand. That's okay. You can picture a park, trees, a bandstand, fine. If I'm just setting location before I get into what happens in the scene, no problem. But if this is a place that's important, that has history, that might feature more than one time, I like to link my description to my characters. Like, Zach looked out across the park. The wide field seems smaller these days. The tree at the far end didn't look so daunting. He spotted the old bandstand and remembered climbing the bars with Jamie when they were little, pretending they were ninjas trying to catch squirrels. Now, I wouldn't do that for every place, but if the park is important, I want you to know that. By going through Zach's eyes, I bring you close to him, you see what he sees and hopefully feel what he does. A memory and a familiarity gives a sense of connection. I also hinted at a change in Zach's perception. I know he's at a time of change in his life. GCSEs just finished, end of school, first love. He feels older and bigger. Rather than explain these things, I can incorporate them into description and give a sense of place and character and mood all at the same time. In our real lives, our senses are what makes the most immediate assessments of our surroundings, and so when we're building our story world, we need to make sure we spark the senses too. Describing visual details is important, but if we only rely on descriptions of things we can see in the space, we're missing all the possible richness of our other senses. If I can see a place, I can imagine being in it. But if I can smell and touch and feel a place, I am in it even more. This is where it becomes essential to put yourself in the story. Slipping into your character's shoes and feeling what it's like to be in a certain space is the best way to make it feel real. If my character is sitting on their sofa holding their phone, wishing it would ring, I need to imagine that's what I'm doing. What can I see? The old clock on the wall, the half-empty bookshelf. What can I hear? Kids outside, the creaky radiators. What can I smell? Coffee from the kitchen, wet dog, old trainers. What can I feel? The old deep cushions holding me like a baseball mitt? I don't know. I try and choose one or two details that fit the moment. It's all about building a mood that makes our scenes feel richer and more vivid. Lighting is another good way to do it. A quick description of lighting at the top of a scene can set the tone brilliantly. The room was poorly lit, or the fading strip light flickered like it might die at any second. Both fine. I'd use something more like the first one if I had action to get right to, and the second one if I wanted to build tension and mood before making something surprising happen. You just have to play. Important thing to remember is we don't write in cement. We use paper or word processor documents, so we can change anything at any time. Go back and amend things. A bedroom can become a kitchen. A brother can become a sister. Until we're completely happy, everything is fluid. Don't be scared to go all out with description when you're playing. You'll probably get rid of a lot of it afterwards, but you might find something gorgeous. I set most of my stories in a slightly fictional version of Birmingham, where I'm from. I do this partly because I love Birmingham and want to celebrate it, partly because I think there's not enough Birmingham-based stories in the world, but mostly because Birmingham is full of places and details that are really vivid to me. And even though it's a real place, I can mix and match parts of it however I like. I like to draw on places and locations I've experienced. And sometimes I might take the house I grew up in and move it to the street I live in right now. Or maybe I use a shop I remember going into lots, or parts of different schools I went to become one mutant hybrid high school that feels familiar, but also new and exciting to me. So we can put anything anywhere. But if we choose places and details that communicate atmosphere and mood, our settings become amazing tools for bringing our story and message to life. If my characters are feeling lost, I use description of place and space to enhance that feeling, making them seem small next to a looming building, or using the manic pressure of a crowded high street to give a sense of confusion and insignificance. Sometimes it's useful to see the full picture from a step back to allow us to get a sense of the space we are in. Other times, it's great to zoom in and go through a character's eyes to give us a sense of what they are concentrating on, their mood, and what they want in the scene. For me, it's a real trial and error thing. My descriptions are probably what I changed the most after my first draft. Every time I go through my finished story and edit, I find myself tweaking descriptions, getting rid of some, changing details to enhance the mood of a scene. Now I understand what it is. The fun and the challenge is choosing the right level of detail that sparks your reader's imagination without trying to control it. We're trying to bring a place to life and leave enough space for them to imagine into it, because when we do, they don't just feel like they can see our story, they feel that they're inside it.